Well, hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Clark. I'm the founder and CEO of Clark College Consulting. I've helped over 1,000 young men and women over the last 14 years with selecting, applying, getting into their first choice college for less than they ever dreamed possible. And I'm so excited to have with me tonight or today, Amy Haskell. And Amy is the founder and CEO of Total Writing Enrichment. And Amy and I have been friends for about a year and a half now. Isn't that right, Amy?
I think so. Close. The time's flying by.
I
Yeah.
know it's flying by. So I was speaking to colleges this week, and obviously there's a lot going on in the world. But from talking to colleges, Amy, they're telling me, Ryan, we haven't changed the deadline dates for early action. We haven't changed the deadline dates for regular admissions.
Okay.
And so I'm passing this on to my students saying, yes, some of the SAT dates are changing. Some of the standardized tests are changing. But students are going to be going off to college next year, and they're going to be going off to college the following year.
Yeah.
And we need to take advantage of this time that they have at home. And one of the great things that they could be doing is writing their essay. So let me give you the floor, and you can introduce yourself and what you do. And then I have some questions for you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Ryan, for having me. I'm delighted to be here. And I know that there is so much going on in our world with everyone, and specifically with students, with high school juniors and seniors, as we think of the world of college admissions and the impact of COVID-19 on college admissions. And it's nice. I love hearing you say, look, kids are still going to college. And in our world, they still need to complete their applications and to present themselves in the best possible light. So my name is Amy Haskell, everyone, and I'm delighted to be here. And for years, I taught high school English, and I taught at a large, competitive, high-performing high school by Northwestern in the suburbs of Chicago. And then my family and I moved to Charlotte, and I helped kids with their writing, and then specifically in how to write amazing, outstanding college admissions essays to boost kids' chances of getting into college. So that's what I do in a nutshell. And over the years of my teaching and one-on-one tutoring, what I've done is I've bottled up the best of all of my lessons and all of my exercises, and I've created this online platform so that kids can actually approach their college essay from a fair methodological way that takes them from point A, from brainstorming topics, all the way through point Z of putting final, beautiful writing touches on these essays. So, as you know, a lot of kids in high school just aren't exposed to writing. I mean, maybe I could say like we both were, or even like our parents were. It seems like the instruction of writing, everything from even old handwriting, right, to putting those thoughts in our head clearly on paper has really diminished over the years. So then, before they know it, kids are juniors having to write the essays of their lives in some situations, and they really don't have confidence, and they don't really have the skills yet to write those essays. And so my heart goes out to them, because a lot of these kids are in the maybe pile or are on the wait list, right, based on their scores or GPA. So it's my belief that these essays they're writing has the power to pull them out of that maybe pile and into the yes pile. So that's my passion right now.
And that's wonderful. And to that point, I was speaking to a lot of different colleges this week, just trying to get my hands around what's going on in their world. And they're changing, obviously, from week to week in their decisions. And as you know, a lot of colleges now are going test optional for a few years.
Yeah.
And I said, well, how's that going to affect the applications? And they said, well, we're going to put more emphasis on other parts of the application, right?
Yeah.
So things like teacher recommendations are going to be really important.
Yes.
And of course, the essay, as we're talking about today, is going to be really important. And that's why I wanted to get you on here to help some students and help some families with, how do we start this? What do we need to do? Some insights, right? Just to pick your brain a little bit. To help these students and parents through this crazy time.
Yes. And that's a great question. And this is so perfectly timely. So right now what I'm doing is I'm actually offering free 20-minute sessions for students. And I'm telling them what I'm going to tell everyone right now. So some of the things that you can do, one, even though it's under the college essay and college application umbrella, one is more logistical and math, and the other one taps into more of your creative Englishy side. So as far as the logistical, what a lot of juniors can do right now is research with the time they have and look at what the college, where the colleges they want to go, and look at what the essay writing expectations are. So for example, if you want to go to college A, does that require just the Common App? But does college B require the Common App plus 2 other personal statements?
Mm-hmm.
And then to take it a step further, can you leverage the types of questions those colleges are looking for? So you probably can. And the way to do that is to look up what those supplemental essay questions were from last year. Now, the Common App essay questions are most likely, like they have been, going to be the same, right? The supplemental essay questions might be the same for some colleges. They might change, but at least the juniors, you can know how many you're going to have to write. So you can do a whole analysis. I mean, as you know, some kids are going to have to write 2 or 3 essays, and some kids literally are going to be writing between 15 to 20.
Yeah.
So this is what we've both experienced. So let's start off kind of in a consultant role, and you students out there and parents can figure out, well, how many essays do we have to write in the first place? And then what are those essays? So you could make a chart, right? Like, NC State has the Common App and then these 2 specific supplemental essays. Right. Carolina has these, App State, these. So that's a good thing to do as far as research and staying uber organized, to use this time to get really organized and to create a spreadsheet. And then getting into writing the essays, here's the thing. No matter the weight of your SAT or ACT scores this year, the colleges, of course, they're going to see your grades, the classes you took, and they're going to see, like, on that application, the list of your activities. But here's the ultimate question. What do the colleges need to know about you? So I'm speaking to you juniors right now. What do they really need to know about you as far as your values as a person, as far as your strengths that they might not get from other parts of your application? So for example, I had a student a couple years ago who, great baseball player and sporty guy, and he does a lot of service work, decent grades, but nowhere on the application do the colleges know that he's helped take care of his sick grandmother for 5 years, and the time and the dedication and the sacrifice. So where is a beautiful place to bring that up? In the essays. So students, what I would love for you to do right now is to think like a top-down approach. What are your shining qualities, strengths, your values in the first place? And then if you look more carefully at those, maybe you come up with a list of top 10. Perseverance, you just have an intellectual curiosity. Maybe you love fitness and well-being. Let's say you have your top 10, but then to look more critically at, all right, which ones of these are so important and the colleges might not recognize, might not know about me based on other parts of my application. So in the program that I have, we really drill down with a lot of typical English teacher questions that help extract those parts, those deep thinking parts, like doing a character analysis from The Great Gatsby or The Catcher in the Rye, right? Or a Shakespearean character. Well, now you get to do that with yourself. So those are some specific steps that could take between doing the research side, don't you think? And then doing this critical, could take a good 3 to 4 hours.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And some of what I've seen between students writing an English paper for a high school teacher and for the college is a little bit different, because you want to show some of the vulnerability in your essay with the college as opposed to an English teacher. So you might be talking about yourself in a little bit different, more personal way for a college application or a college essay, as opposed to writing this information for your English teacher, right? And so sometimes that's hard, especially for males. Males don't typically write like that. And so you have to bring that out of them, and you do a good job of doing that. And so that's part of teaching students how colleges really what they want to read about, or what they're trying to find out about you in that essay.
Well, and that taps into a really important component of why I'm doing what I'm doing. So like the name of my company, it's not College Essay Experts, right? It's total writing enrichment. And the reason for that is ideally, I love to start with students when they are 8th graders, 9th graders, 10th graders. And part of my earlier year curriculum is to teach them the components of the narrative essay / the personal memoir. So the high school where I taught before, by the time a student was done with sophomore year, they had written and spent a lot of time on drafts and learning from the teacher 2 major narrative essays, right? So then when they're juniors, they're like, oh yeah, we know how to tap into how we changed as a person, or a lot of the college admission essay traits, right?
Right.
And so the program I have before the college admissions essay, it taps into that, or the one-on-one writing, because kids just aren't getting that.
Right.
And then, like you say, yeah, then you have a 17-year-old boy who's supposed to reveal all of this vulnerability or weakness, right? Stuff that colleges love to hear, or loss, and then how they came out stronger, a more mature person, and they're just looking at their blank Google Doc. They're like crossing their eyes. Mrs. Haskell, I have no idea. So it's hard.
It is hard. It is hard. And that's why it takes so long. And that's why we're encouraging students to start early.
Yeah.
Because usually the first time you do it, isn't going to be the one you submit. It's going to take multiple redrafts and rewriting until you get it exactly the way you want it.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. That is such a great point. And when I work with students, I try to start with what they're most familiar with. So let's just say a student athlete, right? Let's say you have, a varsity or a swimmer, or lacrosse player, or a basketball player. And I'll say, well, you couldn't expect to be never play lacrosse before, and to be thrown into a varsity game and to be able to, play and throw. And so have grace with yourself here. If you've really never been instructed in writing, personal writing like this, yeah, just what you said, it's hard, and it's going to take, just like a lot of reps with lifting weights, or, cradling with the lacrosse, it's going to take time and effort. So listen, students, start now.
That's right.
What are your top 10 shining qualities, characteristics? And don't hold back. Get your notebook or get your laptop and just brainstorm, right? It's almost the type of thing I tell students that, when your essay is done, let's say you were in the halls of your high school and it mistakenly flew out of your backpack, and a classmate, whether they know you really well or just kind of, they picked this up and the name wasn't on it, and they read it and they said, oh my gosh, that is John Smith. So that's the goal.
That is the goal. That's a great way of explaining that. It's a very, very good point.
Yeah.
I love the way you use that example.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Been doing this for a long time, and I love it. And I really, my heart goes out to how competitive it is to get into college. And then a lot of writing, don't you think, comes through with scholarship essays?
Sure. Yeah.
And then getting money. And so I can't change the high school curriculum, but what I can do is what you get when you work with me is you get a lot of writing instruction. Right. So,
and very similar to when I work with my students, we go over the application. I go, these are the hot spots on your application that are going to help you stand out. These are the places where a college is going to read over your application. They're going to spend 3 to 5 minutes on average your application. Where is it that they're going to hesitate for a minute and read? And how can you use that to your advantage? Because you're competing against all these other great students. What can we do to really make you shine and polish that up?
Yeah.
Right. And that includes the essay as well. And that's so important. It's only going to get more important, right?
With this year and the next year. I know I'm just so interested to see. I mean, I guess a great English teacher question is always to what extent, right? So to what extent will COVID-19 increase the importance of the essays, both with college admissions and scholarship for students this year?
I think it's going to be essays, extracurricular activities. The teacher recommendations are going to be extremely important because now a lot of schools are going are not giving out grades. They're giving out pass-fail. And so how can colleges look at your GPA now? So they're going to have to reach to those teachers and dig into their letters of recommendation a little bit more. So their activities lists are going to be very important. But that would be a whole another workshop. We can talk about that on another day. But any tools that you would suggest students use right now to help them with writing their essays?
Good question. As far as like Like, what do you mean by tools? Like,
Is there any online programs other than your program, or is there any tools that you know of that you could suggest someone go online?
it's really interesting. I mean, truly, there are hundreds of Common App essay samples out there, and not at all to, sneak and steal other people's ideas, but don't you feel like, especially with something like writing, if a student, and this is coming from a teacher's point of view, if a student can visualize like what an effective opener looks like, or can read someone else's essay, and that's really great. Maybe it was funny and humor, and that's a whole nother, teaching topic. You either go for it and it works, or
Exactly.
It's like opening up with a speech or a joke and it doesn't work. But to look online and leverage different Common App essay samples, and to look at what you don't like also. So, for example, is there an essay that really captures your attention? And then is there one that fails? Well, for you to become so good at understanding why. So really quick tip, as far as leveraging tools, looking at samples that are out there, and then do essays that you don't like. Are they packed with to be verbs? Like am, is, are, was, were? Is every other sentence I was? Right. I was, right? So to leverage as far as that, and here's the other thing. Here's a second tool you can use that's free and easy. If students, you're trying to brainstorm your top 10 characteristics or traits, your values, your strengths, and you're just like, can't think of anything, why not Google like 20 best characteristics of a leader, right? Or of successful students. And just again, to visualize and see the words and the vocabulary. I bet you anything, I know that light bulbs will start to go off in your own mind.
That's a good point, because some of my students, when we're writing or looking over their essay, we want to bring that out, right? We want to highlight that. Yeah. So if they're wanting to become a civil engineer, we will actually have them go do that and say, what makes a good civil engineer?
Yes.
Right? And so some of those verbs, adjectives, we could potentially use in the essay to describe what it would become a good civil engineer, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And then finally, as far as just really simple right now with time on our sides and using the internet, the other thing you could do is, let's say you have your top 5 or 10 college choices, to really become familiar with their literature, right? Like with their motto. Do they have a new motto? If they do, the pursuance of excellence and discipline, or hearts to compassion and minds to inquiry and service.
Right.
That's huge for them. And not that you're copying those, but if when you're thinking of yourself, if they really truly resonate, you better believe you're going to include those in your essay.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. And if you could go and Google each of the colleges and read their mission statement, well, that gives you some really good insight. That's a good
100%.
trick for all the students and parents that are watching this. If you go read their mission statement, it kind of tells you the types of students that they're recruiting.
Yes.
And also maybe the types of professors that they want to hire and their overall goal. And you might want to think, hey, maybe this is something that I can highlight in my application or my essay.
Yes, for sure. For sure. So hopefully those are some helpful tools. There's a lot that you can do, students, right now. And I would really take advantage of time on your side for a lot of reasons. I mean, once we have freedom to go and do fun things again, and then also once the weather becomes nicer, how awesome would it be for it to be mid-summer, nearing the beginning of your senior year, and you're like almost done with your essays.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
And speaking of which, and I know the answer to this, but I would like for you to tell the students, give me some topics that you would typically try to avoid, or you would suggest students kind of avoid, and why. And okay,
that's such a great question. And I'm wondering if you have something in your brain now, because, and I think you do, just the line of work. Now, typically a lot of colleges will say, but then I want to give you, hang on, wait, we'll say, this is what we see a lot of: getting cut from the team and summer camp.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also hear things like church mission trips.
Oh, yes.
A lot of those.
Okay. Getting cut from the team, church mission camps, or especially if they went far away.
Right. How about winning the state championship or missing the goal to miss the state championship?
Yeah.
any sports related sometimes can be kind of tricky because they get a lot of those.
They do. So I have two things to say about that. Now, let's say truly your student who has had this like life-altering, really great experience where you learned more about yourself, you became a stronger person, you related it to other areas of your life at camp, or when you did get cut from the team, or when you were a goal away. But so that's number one. I mean, genuinely, truly, if you're looking at your life and it does fall under one of those overly used topics, be aware.
Right.
And your writing is going to have to be like extra awesome, because I will tell you, the colleges are like, again, okay, another cut from the varsity soccer team.
Right.
Okay. But if it's amazing, and then if it genuinely connects to you, and then also, don't you think if you can tie that to other areas of your life?
Oh yeah, that's the key.
That's the key.
Yeah.
So it's not just, I can't believe I was cut from the basketball team, or I went away to camp and it was really hard, or I went on this amazing mission trip and now I recognize, what do they say? Not to say how good I have it. Right. Yeah. That's like, okay. The colleges are like, okay. It's like saying, the Great Gatsby made a lot of money. It was new money. Okay. What? Hester Prynne lived in the time of Puritans. Oh, okay. So and this is where that critical thinking comes. Right. And so, yes, students, there are these categories that we've just said, but I mean, again, my heart goes, if that's truly where you're aligned. And here's the thing, if getting cut from the team or that camp experience or the mission trip, if it really did change you or mean something to you, then you can relate it to other areas of your life. Right. Because here's the thing, if the essay is not, the brilliance in the essay isn't the topic, it's you.
Exactly. So important. And just to give you an example, I had a student a few years ago who wrote a tremendous college essay on his grandfather. And it was absolutely beautiful, and how he spent so much time with his grandfather, and his grandfather was a World War II hero, and how he looked up to his grandfather. And it was just an awesome essay about his grandfather. But I said, this tells me nothing about you.
Absolutely.
So it has to be about
all
you.
The time. I did a whole 2 falls ago video on that. And when kids fall into that, and we should bank this for another topic, it's like those supplemental essay questions that say like, why this college? And then you have, even yesterday, I had this with a student who was writing an appeal for like a waitlist letter, going on and on about the college. Like, the town is really lively and the weather's pleasant and the School of Business is very competitive. It's like, the colleges know all of that. They want to know about you. So, but it's hard, right? And students, I get that. There's so much pressure on these essays. And then you couple that with, well, how much writing experience have you really had?
And exactly. And some students just don't know what to write about or what to do or and that's why this video is helping to hopefully will help some students and parents with giving some of them direction and what to avoid and what not to avoid, right?
Yeah.
And we could spend hours talking about this because there's so much we could delve into, like how to start it off with a bang to grab their attention, right? How to end it, what could the format look like? Yeah. And there's always exceptions. And to that point, you were talking about topics to avoid. One you were saying a minute ago was humor. Unless the student is just like really funny all the time, I tell them not to try to be funny, because it can be, it can kind of come off as, what's the word I'm looking for?
Oh, it can be offensive.
It can be offensive. Yeah. It's snarky.
Like, oh, this is kid who, like, it could be something negative, not meaning. It's just like when a kid tells a joke to another kid and hurts someone's feelings and they had no idea.
Right. Exactly. So you got to be careful with the funny. Sometimes students can pull it off because they're just naturally funny, right? But if you're not one of those students, then I wouldn't do it. Speaking to the colleges, they're expecting a lot of essays about the coronavirus and how it affects them. And so the colleges are telling me, Ryan, hey, to your point, if it was really really
Yeah.
important to them and it's life-changing and how they can relate it to them, sure.
Right.
But at the same time, just understand they're going to get a lot of those essays. And so you're going to have to make it extra, extra, excellent, extra awesome or fantastic to stand out.
Well, that's the thing. And it's just like getting cut from the team or summer camp or the mission trip. It's like, unless there's something that is related to other parts of your life. I mean, and the thing is, this is and can be this situation right now quite challenging for many kids, and even how they got through that. But that's not probably going to be the whole story, right? It's going to be, and then I showed like discipline or perseverance in this other area. Right.
But even then, you know, they're going to get hundreds of them. Right? So I encourage my students that we're talking about essays. And speaking of that, what's a good timeline? Should they be starting their essays now? Should they wait till the summer? Should they do it beginning of their summer year? Yeah, I mean, that's a great place to wrap it up. In forward thinking and setting goals is that picture yourself, especially if these are juniors out here or even younger kids, picture yourself starting your senior year and you're completely done with at least that Common App essay, right? So I would say for sure 100% that's your goal. And so then the question is, okay, so how do we back that up? Well, like the program I have has a weekly writing schedule for about 4 weeks. But here's the thing. If you start some of your pre-writing now, like drilling down on some of those characteristics and values, nose to the grindstone, I think you could write it. If you're a fairly decent student and focused, I think you could write your Common App essay in a good 2.5 weeks. But that is really focusing hard. I mean, I think 4 weeks is probably more realistic. Sure. Especially, here's the thing, once you have your topic, and that's a big once, that could be weeks. Once you have your topic, I would say based on experience, you're looking at 4 major revisions, like reading yourself, making changes, asking at least 2 other trusted sources, and then making changes. Read out loud. So if you think about that, when you go back to schools, let's just ballpark, like what, August 15th, August 20th around. Right. And then you want to be totally done by the first week in August. So you want to be like 70% done, just what, the end of July, 3rd week in July. So, you know, you're looking at starting at this, if you want to be comfortable and not rushing it in the 2.5 weeks, you know, in June, I would say. Or they can start now. You absolutely. A lot of I'd open up a Google Doc and start with where all the colleges, and this is where we started. Right. What are their essay expectations? Can you copy and paste the essay questions from last year? So you get a flavor, right? Right. And then what are your top 10 shining strengths and values and characteristics? There you go. Yeah, that's great insight, Amy. And I want to tell you, thank you so much for joining me today. And we could go on for 2 hours. Yes, I have we can. Hundreds of more questions, and maybe we'll do a Facebook Live or something else in the future to help students and maybe take some questions while we're doing that. But again, Thank you so much for your insight. How can people get in touch with you in case they want to speak with you? Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for including me. It's my pleasure, and it's my goal to help as many kids as I can and their parents. And the best way to get a hold of me is my website, which is totalwritingenrichment.com. That's all 3 words, Total Writing Enrichment. And then you can also find that Total Writing Enrichment on Facebook, which is fairly interactive. I am posting a lot. And then I also just hopped on a couple months ago LinkedIn, so you can look me up on LinkedIn. Wonderful. Again, my name is Ryan Clark, and you can visit me at clarkcollegeconsulting.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube videos where you could watch this video again if you'd like. But again, thank you so much, Amy, and I look forward to hopefully having lunch with you again soon. If not, we can certainly do a Zoom meeting, and we will talk to you soon. Yes, thank you again. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you. You too.